Hey, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. If you're watching the broadcast, well, most important if you're live, I'm Sporty King, and this is Glue Wednesday. I always come on, and I try to get on 5 minutes early to give Facebook a chance to build the audience. There's a couple of schools of thought in there. So if you ever decide to do a Facebook Live, some people say that when you do a live, you should wait until it's time for you to do live to come on. I say that I come on early because someone may have it. You saw you had the option to let you know when I'm on live. So something to pop up on your screen, Sporty King is live. And you say, oh my God, that's right. I meant to get that. Let me finish this out. And so in the process of you finishing that thing out, you may miss a little something. Granted it's taped, so you can always go back. But I just like to get the whole experience, all right? And so I always come on early, give people a chance to get that thing out of the way, and then I do that countdown to 1 o'clock when we're really going to start. And then I get to do my shout outs. What's up, Jose? And, Haas, but my lifelong friend, God, you know what? It's so interesting. Don't you have friends that, that you're amazed? You say, man, yeah, we've been friends 20 years, 30 years. I'm to the point where we can say we've been friends for over 50 years, over 55. Hey, it's tempting to say, no, you know what? I can say 60 years because you start really meeting people around 5 years old. And us and I, hey, we're 65. Hello. All right. Hey, so, celebrate every day and every year that God has gifted you with. All is well. Glad to hear it, man. And glad to hear it. Look, we got less than 3 minutes to go for today's message, which I'm pretty excited about because it's kind of packed with a different feel. Hey, what's up, Tony? See all these people come on and you see their name and I'm calling them something different. Jose is Haas. Shirley is Tony. This is why I come on early to get my shout outs out the way, especially because today I've got a night, one thing you can do as a speaker, and you should think about that. And actually is what we actually is kind of part of our goal is to over prepare. And so I got a lot of stuff prepared, but depending on how we go in the chat, determines how we get through it. But it's always better to be over prepared than under prepared because you have more options for flexibility when you over prepare. So there's a speaking tip for you as well. Everything has to be about educating and helping people out, whatever you do, every move you make. And so again, this is one of the beauties that, so even if you're checking out the broadcast, you can still say hi, and so to go to people saying that you commented on the link and said hello to them. Okay, we've got less than 2 minutes for today's message. But if this is your first time on Glue Wednesday, I certainly hope it's not your last. Glue Wednesday is born out of the fact that so often in the cliche, not so much the fact, but the cliche, that so many people say that Wednesday is hump day. And I say, that's based on Wednesday, old school, being the middle of a 5-day work week. See, old school, we just say, hey, weekdays, weekend, they're two separate things. But not everybody works Monday to Friday. But on the man-made calendar, and honestly, Wednesday is the middle of a traditional 7-day week, regardless of when you work. And so it's the glue that keeps the weekend and the week beginning together. So that's why I call it the glue. And it puts us in my favorite pose, a prayerful mode that says, God loves. Oh, God's love undoes everything. That's what the glue is all about. So Wednesday is about keeping it together. It's not about hump day. It's not about needing to get over. I'm word sensitive. It's not about needing to get over, but it's about needing to keep it together. And then, hey, Roger Carroll, good to see you. All right. Oh, see, my 3 main family members are there. One more is coming. Vic's going to come on, and Vic's going to come on saying something about I made it. You'll see. See, sometimes you can figure people out, in advance. But it's great, isn't it great to have people who are with you all the time? That's what a lot of people are talking about right now during the pandemic is, how you wanting to get back out and see people. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing. In fact, this Friday, I'm going to be heading out of town. So my Friday broadcast is going to be at a different time because I'll be speaking with the Army this Friday. But hey, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get started. So you saw it in the promo, right? The greatest love of all. The greatest love of all is actually a song written by Michael Masser. That's our topic today. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Oh, okay. You know, you see, over prepared and I skipped my notes. Okay. But you saw it in the promo about the greatest love of all. Okay. But the greatest love of all is a song written by Michael Masser, who composed the music, and Linda Creed, who wrote the lyrics. It was originally recorded in 1977 by George Benson, who made the song a substantial hit, peaking at #2 on the U.S. Hot Soul Singles Chart that year. It was the first R&B chart top 10 hit for Arista Records. The song was written and recorded to be the main theme of the 1977 film The Greatest, a biopic of Muhammad Ali, and is performed during the opening credits. So you may have seen that in my thread. 8 years after Benson's original recording, the um, the song became even more popular when Whitney Houston recorded it on her 1985 album cover with a slightly amended title. Hers wasn't called The Greatest Love of All. It was Greatest Love of All. It just took the THEA, just took the out, and that changed the whole thing. Okay. So in 1985, when she recorded Greatest Love of All, eventually she topped the charts, peaking at #1 in the United States, Australia, Canada, and on the US R&B chart in early 1986. So there's some background on the Greatest Love of All, and you know, whether it's through George Benson or Whitney Houston. But meanwhile, when Michael Masser had George Benson perform the song for the soundtrack, he said the record came out and the song became an underground theme for Black people. The Greatest Love of All. When the record came out, it became an underground theme for Black people, according to Michael Masser, who was the composer. And so today, I'd like to ask if there is, in fact, a greater message in the song to all people. And I'll answer that with some creative, what I call creative food for thought, by going through the actual lyrics. Because see, we know the song. We hear, you know, we heard Whitney sing it, we heard George Benson sing it, and we sing it. But have you really listened to the lyrics? That's what I'm going to do, is read the lyrics to you and then just touch on some of them and give us a different picture of what we're talking about. But before I do that, let me just give some quick shout outs. Well, see, I told you Vic would be here. Oh, good to see you, Vic. All right. And you certainly do. Okay. And okay, there's my regular family is here. All right. But let's get rolling. Okay. All right. So first, the first 5 lines of the song. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. And I know y'all didn't think I was going to sing that, okay? But those are the lyrics. What I'm going to do is walk those lines backward and have us take a different look at what we're saying in this song. So let's look at the last one, and that is, let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Are you doing that? You know, that's what they're saying. Are you letting the children's laughter remind us of how we used to be? We used to laugh too. Or are we spending more time demanding that children be serious and responsible? See, sometimes that's what we forget, is they're children. We used to laugh and be irresponsible. So let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. As you know, and see, this can become a formula for helping you try not to say that the kids are getting on your nerves. Don't spend all that time expecting children to be serious and responsible, and then suddenly you put them in place. They say, you know, hey, this is grown-up stuff right now, you know, butt out. Think about some of the messages that we're sending. And then they ask ourselves, give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. See, sometimes those lessons, that laughter that remind us how we used to be, sometimes the lessons that we learned, we actually need to share them in retrospect rather than share them as a warning. What do I mean by that? Okay, after something has happened, so you don't have to, you better not do that. You can't stop children from learning and growing, right? That's what we had to do. So sometimes you have to let them fall. You have to let them be adventurous and do things. And then you pick their little spirits back and say, you know what? This happened to me. Because they're like, whoa, you went through that? It just doesn't, don't you remember being a teenager and not believing that your parents or grown-ups went through what you went through? So that's what we have to do, is sometimes just give them a sense of pride to say, look, I'm okay, and it's okay what you just did. I want to make it easier by not telling you what not to do, but when you do it, I want to walk you through it and talk about what you learned from it. Got some comments there? Let me see. One of my favorite songs. Yes. Okay, good. See, so y'all, so you see, now you're getting to see the song a little differently. All right. All right. So then the next line says, show them all the beauty they possess inside. We're enjoying their laughter to remind us how we used to be. We're giving them a sense of pride to make it easier on them. Because don't people a lot of say, I want my kids to have it differently. And you don't have to have maternal kids. We're talking about the future. We're talking about kids in your life. And you in the long run, how can you make it easier on them? It's tough. It's tough because they're not going through the same things we went through or the same way we went through them. But we just have to be there to support them. So how do we do that? Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Now there's an organization called HeyUgly.org, which is my pet charity that I'm a co-founder of. It's a website for youth that it does just that. It shows them all the beauty they possess inside by talking about their self-esteem, empowering them to be part of the solution to bullying, substance abuse, and teen suicide. According to Hey Ugly, suicide due to breakups and bullying is the second leading cause of teen death. They have a page on their site that actually has 9 video testimonials called I'm glad I didn't take my life. So good. If you get a chance, check that out, heyugly.org, and then click on the page, I'm glad I didn't take my life. And there's just 9 wonderful, wonderful videos of young people who chose not to take their life by suicide. And I know some of you have been on when I've spoken about suicide before, and the updated terminology, instead of saying committed suicide, we like to say, well, we encourage people to say it's took their life by suicide, because committed has a sound of an accomplishment. And we don't want to make it sound, you see, we have to be word sensitive. We don't want to make it sound, hey, you accomplished it. No, in terms of honoring their family, we want to say they took their life by suicide and somewhat soften the blow. As because suicide is a treatable mental illness. Here we are in Mental Health Month, and it is a treatable mental illness. So, psychotherapy, medication, there's a lot of different options. So if you know someone who's thinking of taking their life by suicide, and P.S., by the way, we don't say, are you thinking of hurting yourself? We say, are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about taking your life by suicide? You see, think about it. Someone who's thinking about taking their life by suicide or ending their life, they're doing it because they think that's the solution for everyone else. So they say, let me get out of the way. So when you say, are you thinking about hurting yourself? They're like, no, this isn't going to hurt me. This is going to do me good and take care of you. There's a whole lot of different ways. That's not saying that's the case with every single case. But again, what we have to do is learn new things and ways of handling conversations and approaches so that we can be giving it the best we can. Because what's going to happen if someone does take their life by suicide? What happens? We have what's called survivor's guilt. Survivor's remorse, survivor's guilt, pretty much the same thing, where we say, oh man, how come I didn't see it? They had that conversation with me, and we have to live with it. But if you know how to have that conversation and you did the best you can to have that conversation, now it takes you on the road to healing rather than being the domino effect, because sometimes people take their life by suicide because they didn't stop someone else from taking their life by suicide. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. Okay. So get a hold of knowing as much as you can. I'm glad I didn't take my life on heyugly.org. Okay. And so then the next line says, let me go back to see what we're saying in there. There's such a sense of pure, let's go with a sense of pure freedoms. Okay, this is what I needed, and I didn't mention this. I'm on StreamYard, and there is a time delay. And so I need to slow down and try to go back and see, because I know Shirley, Tony is talking about let the children's laughter remind us of how we used to be. There's a sense of pure joy in their laughter, because think about that hard laugh that they just come up with, and we used to do that same thing. Okay. And then what did Roger Carroll say? This world does a poor job of affirming us. We need to lift up everyone's beauty. See, and so now that's talking about all the beauty they possess inside. Yes, the world does a poor job of it. And guess what? Remember Michael Jackson, not just Michael Jackson, but the collaboration of all the artists. We are the world. We are the world. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start living. So that's the key, is that if everyone, it's almost like, there's in New York, they have a slogan, each one teach one. Well, I'm sure it's more than just New York, but that's where I first learned it. And that's it. Everybody on this broadcast, you have personal responsibility for helping someone see the beauty inside, helping our children. And how do you do it? You've got to see the beauty inside yourself. Because if you don't see the beauty inside yourself, how can you encourage someone to bring it out of themselves? You say, well, I fake. You'll be able to say, you know what? I'm seeing this in you. And therefore, it's something that I've experienced. Oh, man, there's so many different ways of going through it. So thank you, Roger Carroll. And then what you say there, Vic, lift up their spirits. You have to lift up their spirits. Again, you cannot lift up anyone's spirit if yours is down. You have to take care of yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Even the greatest love and spoiler alert, but the song is talking about the greatest love, learning to love yourself. You have to take care of you so that you can take care of all the beautiful, wonderful people in your life that are worthy of you taking care of. Because sometimes you're taking care of is strictly them feeding off of how you have not given up on yourself. All right. So great. Okay. So I'll slow down and get back to when we hit the lines, but I think that takes care of those first three lines. And so let's move on to the next line, which is teach them well and let them lead the way. Teach them well and let them lead the way. You see, children mimic and mirror adults. So are you showing frustration right now with homeschool? So let's come right into today's in today's world. Are you showing frustration with homeschooling? See, the thing that we have to recognize, it's not new. It's new to you. Homeschooling is not new. And it's just now more of a need for it. According to the coalition, let me see what I have them. According to the coalition for according to the Coalition for Responsible Home Education, the modern homeschool movement actually began in the 1970s. See, that's not even talking about back in the olden days when people didn't have schools and didn't have a choice. But the movement for homeschooling began in 1970, and there's a site called the Coalition for Responsible Home Education. So that's responsiblehomeschooling.org. And so remember, it's not new. It's just now more needed. And then two is that I'm sure you may say, oh, well, boy, that's easy for you to say. You don't have any kids at home that you're schooling. And that's true. But it takes me back to my first year coaching community league basketball when I lived in Chicago. I was coaching the 7th grade team, and I named the team the Controllers. And I told my kids, I said, you know what? Right now, being in control of yourself and your emotions is not going to resonate with you as much as it will later on in your life. So what I want us to do when we get our huddle to go out and play, we're not going to scream like everybody else. We're going to get in the huddle, push our hands down like a train coming into the station, say, shh, control. And then we went out and lost all 13 of our games by 10 or more points. And so what happened? I got the lesson. Okay. I got the lesson. I was teaching them another way about control. And as it turned out, my kids needed to scream. And so even as you coach, you have to remember to be coachable. So the next year, I let the team, number one, name themselves. But also I learned that kids need that hearty burst of energy to scream. And then you know what my kids did the next year? It wasn't the same team. You get a different team each year. But the next year, my kids named themselves the troops, because that was at the time that we were going through the Persian Gulf Wars. And these were eighth graders. And again, already they had a social consciousness about themselves. So they named themselves the troops. That year in a 16 division, we finished fourth in the regular season. And so then when we went through the playoffs, we beat the number three team. We dusted them off. Then the next round we spanked the number two team, and then the championship we played against the number one team and we lost by 1 point. Okay, and so that's another seminar that I actually do. But the key is, it's easy for me to say yes. Don't show frustration while you're doing the homeschooling. But as I said, you don't have to have maternal kids. And it doesn't have to be strictly about your homeschooling. You have to have a vision for the long run. When I told my kids about control, I had a vision for them for the long run. These are a bunch of boys that I hope now to this day, some of them are thinking about, well, Coach Sporty used to say that I need to be in control. Maybe that's going to help them decide not to do something that they don't need to do, something that could mess up their lives forever. Maybe it's going to help them in a relationship. You don't know, but you have to recognize that you're constantly and consistently planting seeds. And so that's the thing, is that what I ended up doing also is I established a reputation in the community league basketball. And more importantly, I established relationships with children and parents that have now become lifelong friends. I've got so many kids who I used to coach, because I coached 10 years in Bolingbrook. And I got kids now that have families, and they're my friends on Facebook. We talk about making business deals. It's just a wonderful thing. But the thing is, you have to commit to getting it right for the long haul. Whatever you're telling the kids, you have to commit to getting it right for the long haul. Even when people say, I want my kids to have it better than I have, that's for the long haul. That doesn't mean that you're going to see them have it better, but it means that you're committed to it. So therefore, you have to be living your life the way you want it to be mimicked and mirrored. And so that's what we want to be able to do. That will help you now go back to the opening line of the song that says, I believe that children are the future. I believe that children are the future. Let me see if I got any comments to clean up over here. But I think it actually goes with everything, we just said. Get a sense of laughter, make them feel good about themselves, and uplift their spirits, because children are the future. But you have to believe that. If you believe that, then it'll manifest in your conversation. How many times have you said, these children of today aren't going to make it? Or some version of that. You see, our answers to the 4 other lyrics, and that's and the funny thing is, whether we put those lyrics before or after this one, I believe the children are the future, wherever we put those other 4 lyrics will express your belief of whether or not you believe the children are our future, and how you are expressing it to them as well as to others. So do you really believe that children are our future? Then let's talk about what you're doing to help them laugh instead of making them be all serious and responsible. Let's talk about what you're doing to give them a sense of pride, so that you can make things just a little easier for them, or easy on their spirit, because everybody goes through a little bit of regret and shame. Or are you helping them pick up this, telling them about the beauty inside, how wonderful they are? And we see it when they're particularly young. When they're very young, we're talking about, oh, that's okay, you spilled it, oh, you're going to be fine. Because kids knocks it up and then they start crying, oh, it's okay, you spilled it. Then when they get older, you clumsy oaf. Hey, I'm not beating up parenting, but this is what we do. And now let me take you back to that seventh grade team that I coached. They couldn't appreciate the need for control that I was telling them in the seventh grade, but you can appreciate it now in your seventh time being 5 years old. All right. And then lastly, what was that other one? Are we teaching them? And then letting them lead the way. I'm sorry. And in fact, I got to go back to that. Remember the reason I made the point of saying how the next year I let them name themselves. See, I taught them and then I let them lead the way. That's what I'm talking about in terms of being coachable. And that's why I can say that I believe that children are the future. And so there's your checklist, and again, it's not to make anybody feel bad about what they're doing, but it's to make all of us think about what we're doing. And then once we think about it, we can make the assertions that the song gives us, and really puts us in our lives, puts those thoughts in our lives. I'm looking at my other computer to see if there are any live comments before I move on, and so there being none. I'm going to move on. So what do y'all think about those first 5 lines? You good? All right, let me move on to the next, because the song goes on to say, everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who filled my needs. A lonely place to be, and so I learned to depend on me. I want to stop right there. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, we're in Mental Health Awareness Month. September is Mental Health Awareness Month. And loneliness has a new home due to COVID, where people really have to believe in themselves enough to distinguish between lonely and alone. Sometimes that leads to shutting people out. You shut other people out when you're lonely, or even when you're alone. But what we're asking you to do, and what I'm asking you to do, is to let it lead you to bringing people in. See, it's okay to depend on yourself, but it's also okay to know that you can depend on someone else. So let me ask you, are you comfortable being with yourself? Are you lonely, or are you alone? And I ask you, but I want you to ask yourself. And I'd love you to put it in the thread, because sometimes we need to go on and put in there how we feel. Are you lonely, or are you alone? Are you comfortable with yourself? So even you just want to put yes, I'm comfortable with, you don't have to put I'm comfortable with myself. You want to put yes, however you want to put in there. Let me just stop and see what you're going to put in there. Hey, Lil. All right. Love depending on God and me. Amen. See, and I'm glad you said that, because even when I said you can, recognize that you can depend on someone else, God's not out of the equation. Even when you're depending on yourself, that God is bringing people into your life so that you can depend on Him. And so, so it's not always a physical manifestation of who you depend on, but it goes back to what you believe in and where your spirit is going. Okay, so yes, and I'm betting that yes is I'm comfortable with myself, and I click on that because I know Lil is that, and his and now Lil, God, we've known each other for over 40 years, but because Lil goes back to when I first started as a 20-year-old at the Wall Street Journal. That's when I started my professional work career. Okay, so thank you, Lil. Okay, so anybody else, are you comfortable with yourself? And then also, what's that other question? Are you lonely or alone? What you got, Roger Carroll? I'm comfortable and loving me because God does. And that's the key, is that would be a great thing to put over your mirror. I'm comfortable and loving me because God does. One of my acronyms that I don't use a whole lot is FOOL, FOOL, feeling ourselves outside of love. Fool at feeling ourselves outside of love. And then the commentary I use on that is recognize whenever we feel that we're a fool, then that means we've forgotten that God loves us. If no one else loves, if you feel yourself outside of love, then what you have to recognize is that you don't need other people to show that they love you. You need to know that God loves you. Because if you don't know that, excuse me, if you don't know that God loves you, you won't be able to recognize how someone else loves you. And more importantly, you won't be able to recognize how much you love yourself and how much you need to. And again, that's what this whole song is about. Isn't it beautiful? So yeah, I love that. Like I said, that would be a great thing to have over your mirror or on your wall, just to remind yourself, I am comfortable and loving me because God does. And that's a great reason to love yourself. All right. Okay. Well, oh, we got something just came up before I clicked away. Let me see. I'm comfortable being by myself. I pour into myself daily with devotions and Bible study. Yeah, you have to have, see, that becomes the key too. See, it's not just saying, okay, yeah, I got it. You have to have a routine. What do you do on a daily basis? Even if we go back to those first 5 lines and we're talking about kids, we're talking about ourselves as well. You're reminding yourself to laugh? What are you doing? You should be laughing every day. You should be encouraging yourself every day. You should have a devotional, meditation, listening to music. What are you doing with your day? The meme that I actually posted today, it said that happiness. Well, what did I say? Because okay, I don't know if my happiest moment has happened yet, but I'm having a good time practicing. See, I don't know if my happiest moment has happened, and I've been happy. And this is what we're saying. I'm comfortable with myself. I'm happy, but I don't know if I've had my happiest moments. You'll hear parents say, especially the mothers, that when I gave birth, that was the happiest moment in my life, or one of that. But imagine that you can be happier than that. You don't know what's your happiest moment. Because even if, let's just keep that example. A parent may say with their first child, that was the happiest moment in my life, bringing that child into the world. Then suddenly, when that child graduates from kindergarten, it's a happy moment. And then when that kid gets an award and at 10 years old, it's the happiest moment in my life because they do, and then when they, they become the valedictorian. See, so happiness, you haven't lived your happiest moment yet, but you've been practicing. So I'm not saying don't stop being happy. Keep being happy, but keep practicing and knowing that you got a happier moment, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. You've been being happy all along, all right? And then I'm making making a habit to laugh out loud. That's I saw that loud. I knew it was laugh out loud. LOL, laugh out loud. So it becomes a key. Vic, you have to be satisfied on the inside, then you can spread the light. And think about it, you can't spread darkness. You have to spread the light, because light erases darkness. And so, but it's on the inside where it is already dark in terms of if you don't see, if you haven't lit up that inside, how can you light up the outside? Thank you, Vic. I have to be satisfied on the inside. I have so much room for love and happiness. I can charge both of them rent. And and I love that comment, because having always heard the term that people have ignorance, renting space, stress, ignorance and stress renting space in their head. And sometimes that's what we do. Who are you renting space out to in your spirit? Are you renting your space out to love and happiness? That's who you need to rent it out to, because number one, they're a good client. They pay on time as well, and they pay good. I just talked to somebody say, throwing bad money at something. See, so they say all money's not good money. Well, love and happiness is good money. All right. Let me get back to the song. Okay, good. Y'all are with me all the way. So a lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. And then the song goes on to say, I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. No matter what they take away from me, they can't take away my dignity. There's a woman, Dr. Donna Hicks. She's the author of the best-selling book Dignity is the Essential Role in Resolving Conflict. And what Dr. Hicks said is that the most common response people offer is that dignity is about respect. But to the contrary, dignity is not the same as respect. Dignity is our inherent value and worth as human beings. Everyone is born with dignity. Respect, on the other hand, is something earned through one's actions. See, so you are born with dignity, but you have to earn respect. Your value and worth should not be negotiable. And that's also not the same as that you shouldn't be flexible or compromising. It's further not the same as refusing to follow someone else's lead. Who you follow sometimes shows how much you believe in yourself. Ali didn't say he wasn't proud to be an American. His actions stated that the boxing title did not define him. Like respect, he had to earn the boxing title. So he said dignity was more important than respect. His inherent value and worth, that's your dignity. That's not the same as respect. And love and happiness are invaluable and going right along with your dignity. And almost I'm hearing Al Green, love and happiness, right? But yeah, we have to have all these things working for us. Look at all the words in the thread that we're getting today. Happiness, love, invaluable, spirit. What else we got? Comfortable, satisfied, God, excellent, laughter, affirming. See, all of these words are not just in the thread, they're in our lives. Remember who was it? We are the world. Roger Carroll said it, right? The world. So all of these things are in our lives. What are we doing with them? How are we best using the gifts that God has placed us in our lives for us to have? So dignity, so that's what respect is, something that you have to earn. And so that's what Muhammad Ali was saying. No, at least I didn't lose my dignity. No matter what they take from me, I didn't lose my dignity. And here's dignity. It's in the next 8 lines. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all, and Vic said it, inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And you see, I believe that we do have to learn to love ourselves. And you've also heard me say how much more important I think it is for us to like ourselves. Liking yourself is the cherry on the cake. But you do have to learn to love yourself, because you have to learn to live with some disappointing things that you do based on the expectations that you set for yourself and based on the times when you feel you let somebody else down. There's a lot of ingredients. It's not easy being you, but you is who you've got. So are you comfortable with yourself? Are you lonely or alone? These are good questions to ask yourself. These are good things to put across your mirror top or on your wall, because you have to talk to yourself. You have to talk to yourself, but more importantly, you have to answer yourself. And sometimes putting the answer in writing is great, especially if you're watching the broadcast. Please go on and put your answers in there anyway. Answer some of the questions that we ask, because that is also a part of the exercise. I love to come back and read the thread and then just go through and make some comments on some people, because it keeps me going and it gives me another way of looking at things, because that's part of what it is. Everybody has a different way of looking at things. So all of those lyrics are repeated as the chorus. And then they add 4 different lines to end out the song. And I'm going to add 4 suggestions to finish our food for thought during these tough times. But first, let me look in the comments and see if there's anything I need to answer before I close us out. All right. Yeah, so those lines, they just repeat them. And sometimes we don't notice that. They just repeat those lines. And then only the last 4 lines of the song are different. Okay, what you got? Okay, Roger Carroll. We have to accept our humanness and our frailty. We do. We have to accept it. But here's the other part of that. This is why I'm always sensitive to vocabulary. I say control your vocabulary. Don't allow your vocabulary to control you. Sometimes what we want to do is extend our sentence. We have to accept our humanness and our frailty as a strength. That's how I would stretch that sentence out. We have to accept our humanness and our frailty as a strength, not a weakness. Because since we are human and we're frail, we don't have to look at that as a weakness. We have to look at one of my mentors, Dr. Willie Jolly, says a setback is a setup for a set. The setback is a setup for the victory, or something like that. For a set. Time's up. All right. But anyway, so that's the key. Always just extend your sentence a little bit as a way of lifting your own spirit. So Vic, that light Vic was talking about, you can bring it in. It's a strength to know that you're human and that you're frail, Because what will that do? It'll allow you to forgive yourself. Because it's important that you forgive yourself before you worry about somebody else forgiving you. And then Vic said, an excellent message. Peace out. Okay, you getting ready to leave? Oh, well, let's go to this first and finish that comment. It's a strength, and I know you knew it. But that's the key, is that we have to stretch those things out a little bit further. And we can only do that with what? With time and patience. We have to have time and patience. And yeah, Vic, it's as we're coming to a close, but yeah, it's been an excellent message, and I appreciate that. All of us are part of the message. All of us are part of the excellence in a message, because all of us are what? The greatest love of all. So here's why I want to close out by giving you the last 4 lines, and then my 4 tips and suggestions that I consider finishing with, because this has been our food for thought. This is just different things and different ways for you to look at things, especially with this song and how you can use it. Go back in the thread and listen to them again. But here's the last 4 lines. It says, and if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. Wait, I might have there it is. Thank you. A setback is a setup for a comeback. I was trying to make it another S, and that's why I couldn't think of that third one. A setback is a setup for a comeback. That's Dr. Willie Jolly, one of my favorite mentors in the speaking business. Thank you, Tony. All right. So the last 4 lines, if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. So here are my 4 suggestions. 1, never stop dreaming. Never stop dreaming. If by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of, never stop dreaming. Never stop dreaming. And extending that, never stop dreaming about being positive, about how more happy you can be, about how wonderful you are. Be the hero in your dreams. 2, change your lonely place into a lovely place. That's what the dream will do for you. Change your lonely place into a lovely place. Goes back to that question we ask, are you lonely or are you alone? All you have to do sometimes in life is change one letter. Change one letter in the word. So take the N out of lonely, because the N is for negativity, and put the V in and make it lovely, because the V is for victory. And so all you have to do sometimes is just change your word. Change it. 3, have a support system or someone who believes in you. We talked about, important to love you and to know that God loves you. But yeah, you have to have a decent support system. I work with the military, and I talk to, you know how those service members get through a deployment? Because they have to have a support system, someone who they know they're coming home to. And how do those people at home get through the deployment? Because they have to have a support system. They have to have people working with them to help them get through the fact that their service member and loved one is off in the distance and possibly in harm's way. And how do we get through everyday life? Having a support system, someone that we can call, someone that we can text. But usually before in my family, when someone's taking a trip, they'll text them taking a trip. There's people say, okay, safe travel, and I'll be praying for you. Haven't you asked somebody for prayers for something? See, we've got the support systems. Let's use them. It's, again, Mental Health Awareness Month. And part of the key in mental health is recognizing that we're all going through something, but you're not going through it alone. You can ask for help. Mental health, suicide, for instance, is a treatable mental illness. And so you can ask for help, but get a support system. Have someone who believes in you. And it certainly is important that you believe in yourself. Because when you believe in yourself, you'll load up on the people who believe in you as well. And then lastly, that's what I'm saying. Find your deepest strength by loving yourself. That's what those last four lines. If by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. And Roger Carroll said it earlier. It's a strength, humanness, and frailty. So when you get to that spot where you're feeling human and frail, find your strength. Extend the sentence. It's just like a lot of times I hear people say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I say, well, just take the over out and feel whelmed. Feel whelmed, wow, that this is that, that God has put some more stuff on my plate. I thought my plate was full, but I got some more room because that's the gift that you have. You have that gift to being the greatest. So learn to love yourself. It's the greatest love of all. So now when you listen to the song again, please hear it differently. Listen to those lyrics and talk yourself through it. I'm Sporty King. Thanks for watching. Thanks for engaging. And thanks for sharing Glue Wednesday. Glue, Glue. God's love undoes everything. Not that it'll tear things apart, but that it'll put stuff together that may have been torn apart. Because everybody has something that they need to help, and need help in keeping it together. Now, this Friday, Wednesday is Glue Wednesday. Monday, I call my Monday moment. That's my new arrangement that I'm doing. I hope you're keeping in touch with me and keeping up with me. And then on Friday, I do Gift Friday. And gift is GIFT. God is for today. And just like I said, take the lonely out and put love and take the N out of lonely and the V in for lovely. I say, some people say TGIF, take the T and move it to the F, to the N, and make it GIFT. Gift Friday. God is for today. But I won't be broadcasting at 1. I'll be broadcasting at 6 in the evening on Friday because I'll be traveling and speaking with the Army this week about reintegration and balance. So I'll have a message for you on Friday, so look for that announcement. Let me tell you right now, spoiler alert, Friday is the anniversary of 9/11. So my message will be about 9/11. So, I'm going to put a meme up today when I get off of it. Just remind us, let's remember the day, not in anger, but in celebration that we made it through. The greatest love of all got us through 9/11. So look for the promo tomorrow about Friday, and then go back and enjoy the 2 videos today about the greatest love on my Facebook page. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you again. God bless you and stay wonderful. Ciao. I'm going to hold on just a second in case there's some, okay, okay, see, I knew I had to hold on. Thanks. May God grant you traveling mercies. Thank you. Got to have the support system. He's done it so far because you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we travel through life every day. So God definitely is supplying us. Thank you, Lil. Great Glue. Great Glue Wednesday. Thank you. More safe travels. Thank you. And there's a traveling woman right there, boy. I know Lil does some traveling. All right. Appreciate you. All right. Okay. I think I'm going to let it end there and roll the credits. Okay. Be safe, y'all. Ciao.